This third installment, which takes us to the seediest areas of 1980s Hollywood by leaping years into the future, is sadly the weakest of the lot. While the other two featured a ton of references, this one really leans into them and doesn't really have much to show for it. This is felt most strongly towards the end, when a twist that the movie was essentially kicking you in the head about the entire time is revealed. Even though the movie borrows a lot of images from classic movies like Psycho and Chinatown, MaXXXine isn't able to turn it into anything meaningful by the time it reaches the last curtain. Everything ends more with a whimper than a bang. The conclusion of MaXXXine emphasizes a major theme of the entire X trilogy and shows how it may hold the secret to success and personal development. The third installment in Ty West's written-directed horror series is called MaXXXine. Mia Goth's MaXXXine Minx, the lone survivor of X, is returned by MaXXXine. Now residing in Los Angeles in 1985, MaXXXine's aspirations to launch a film career are jeopardized by a mystery killer, two detectives, and an enigmatic private investigator who all appear to be in her sphere of influence. By the time MaXXXine's graphic tale comes to a close, it has claimed a respectable number of lives and solved some graphic mysteries. But in the end, it's a pleasant, if somewhat ambiguous, finale that might even pave the way for the fourth and final movie in the series, which will explore MaXXXine's fate in more detail. This is the significance of the entire X trilogy and how the conclusion of MaXXXine relates to it. The main mystery in MaXXXine is who the killer is that is pursuing MaXXXine Minx. This is central to the storyline of the movie. Eventually, it is discovered that MaXXXine's father, Ernest Miller, is the murderer. Ernest Miller is a well-known televangelist. Persuaded that Hollywood is contaminating the next generation, Miller has traveled to Los Angeles to take part in demonstrations against movies such as The Priest. He goes too far, though, and murders others close to MaXXXine that he is unable to rescue, such as Leon, MaXXXine's buddy, actresses like Molly, and adult film stars Tappy and Molly. John Labatt, who Ernest hired to pursue MaXXXine, is the main antagonist in MaXXXine. His goal is to get MaXXXine back by portraying her as the star of his amateur film, which exposes the sinister forces of Hollywood. Detectives Williams and Torres save her in the nick of time, but not before he nearly maims her. Miller exposes the contradiction in the character's reasoning by contrasting his critique of entertainment violence with his own violent impulses. He is MaXXXine's exact opposite, since he trained her to stand up for the life she deserves. MaXXXine closes in a somewhat confusing manner. A police helicopter spots MaXXXine and her father after they are cornered by him after a violent shootout breaks out between his cult and the LAPD investigators. When MaXXXine's gun is demanded to be lowered by the police, she starts to fantasize about turning the recent mayhem into a swift rise to international fame. Regaining her composure, MaXXXine murders her father. After what appears to be a month, the movie shows that MaXXXine has not experienced any obvious legal consequences. Her role in The Priest 2 is actually preparing her for stardom. Considering her part in the movie's final, MaXXXine's rapid rise to fame may seem improbable. A Hollywood sign is substituted with MaXXXine in the credits, indicating that the world is different even if the ending sequence of MaXXXine is implied to be true and that MaXXXine has earned her chance at fame. It might be a deft method to include the movie's title, or it might be seen as a suggestion that MaXXXine's happy ending is merely a fantasy. It's a good approach to end the movie and adds some intriguing mystery to the climax. Two of the supporting characters in MaXXXine are Detective Williams and Detective Torres, who are portrayed by Michelle Monaghan and Bobby Cannavale, respectively. Their inquiry into murders occurring throughout Los Angeles places them in MaXXXine's sphere of influence. Together, they follow her to her meeting with Ernest, where they ultimately save her life. Torres is critically injured in the ensuing gunfight and falls dead in front of MaXXXine. Instead, Ernest stabs Detective Williams in the eye with his crucifix. Detective Williams' fate is left relatively unclear since she is last seen falling down the Hollywood Hills. But given that Detective Williams doesn't pass away on television and doesn't appear to be hurt critically, it's possible that she survived. Her possible survival and ability to testify in MaXXXine's favor could help explain how MaXXXine avoids consequences for the events of the final. It might also make it possible for the character to make a comeback in the event that the series is extended past MaXXXine. At first glance, MaXXXine seems to be the last installment in a certain trilogy of movies. Nevertheless, Ty West acknowledged that he has been working on a possible follow-up that would carry on the X series, as reported by Entertainment Weekly. It's feasible that the upcoming fourth X film may follow Pearl's lead and divert attention from MaXXXine, giving MaXXXine star Mia Goth a new character. Playing with the tropes of the genre, a recreation of the MaXXXine starring in-universe film, The Priest-Eye may be entertaining. Further information regarding Detective Williams and MaXXXine's fates may be disclosed in a fourth X movie. It could provide closure to the movie's plot and establish whether MaXXXine's last accomplishments were genuine or only the product of her own imagination. The movie might focus more on her career, as she becomes more well-known, or show her fighting to maintain the fame she has dedicated her entire life to achieving. Even though MaXXXine ends strongly, there is enough unexplored territory in the resolution for a potential fourth X movie. The conclusion of MaXXXine contributes to the overarching themes of the trilogy by emphasizing the perilous appeal, lethal repercussions, and possible rewards of pursuing celebrity. MaXXXine's major emotional shift occurs when she follows Detective Williams' earlier counsel and avoids the urge to just ignore the dangers around her and instead chooses to help someone. Even though MaXXXine is in grave danger as a result of this, it's a brave move that appears to have paid off in a happy conclusion for her. MaXXXine illustrates how, rather than pushing through oneself, people will attempt to make the world conform to their perception of it. Pearl yelled at the world in earlier movies when things didn't go her way. Both Lavette and Ernest attempt to have MaXXXine follow their rules in MaXXXine, but the strong-willed young lady opposes them and ends up killing them. The entire series, and MaXXXine in particular, focuses on MaXXXine's empowerment in navigating a harsh world, highlighting the obstacles and opportunities that await those who are prepared to battle for their path.